been upgraded to Category 3 hurricane, which means it packs winds of up to 115 miles an hour.
6 years had passed, and Gloria was but a memory, but we in southern New England could not escape the wrath of Bob. For this deadly Category 3 storm with winds of 115 miles per hour had devastated many Rhode Island and Massachusetts coastal communities, and some areas would never be the same again. Now in the community television van for Fairhaven and Acushnet Cablevision around 2 p.m., the full force of Bob is close at hand. Wind speed 96 knots. Location, Fort Phoenix. The New Bedford-Fairhaven hurricane barrier kept 7.6 feet of tidal surge from entering the harbor. At 2:57 p.m., the barometric pressure has bottomed out at 28.48 inches. The blue sky above announces the arrival of the eye of Hurricane Bob, the final anatomy of a dying hurricane.
There's a lot of people coming out now thinking the worst is over, and let's hope it is. What I'm going to try to do is get down towards Crow Island and give you an assessment of the twisted wreckage of the tower there, and I'll be there in about 5 minutes so I can get back to you.
All right, and that's ML Barron in Fairhaven. We aren't going anywhere, and I think I hear Keith trying to reach us again. Let's head back down to the Civil Defense headquarters on County Street.
And there were earlier reports this afternoon, and when we talked to Mayor Bullard, that there may be some damage, and maybe some severe damage. We'll have to wait and see. To the wastewater treatment plant, there were reports that possibly some of the building may have begun to collapse. That is uncomplete.
Now consider the fact that the eye was about 30 miles wide, so that takes you from around Narragansett over to, let's say, Mattapoisett.
This was once a cottage.
Is this your summer residence?
It was.
The million-dollar question is, do you plan on moving this house back where it once was?
Well, we would really like to, but the town of Fairhaven won't let us.
You weren't in the house, near the house during the storm, were you?
No, we weren't. My brother was here until, my brother over there in the blue sweatshirt, he was here until noontime, and then when the water was up high enough where he knew he could get out, he left.
Did the storm do what you expected it to do?
Well, it did a little bit worse than what I thought it was going to do. I really thought that I would find the cottage back where it was. Yeah.
Do you intend on ever having a cottage on the shore again?
No, we're hoping to rebuild.
Others weren't so fortunate. Many found their summer and permanent cottages totally destroyed. Some disgruntled residents whose homes survived the brunt of Bob found a new man-made obstacle. New waterfront building codes would now require elevating the dwellings up to 20 feet above flood stage in order to meet new state and local guidelines. It is estimated that the hurricane barrier in New Bedford Harbor prevented over $7 million in potential damage. 1991 marked its 25th anniversary and the first big test since its completion in 1966.
Back angry seas. Some people say New Bedford's future begins here at this huge seawall.
For many years, there were those who were skeptical as to whether the hurricane barrier designed by the Army Corps of Engineers could do as it was expected. Experts have estimated that without it, Bob could have caused close to $10 million in damages if the 7.6-foot surge was allowed to thunder into New Bedford Harbor. Bob was probably the most documented New England hurricane ever, photographed and videotaped by the professional and amateur alike.
Roadways, we have additional manpower on for tonight, and we will be available to help anybody who still needs any assistance.
Yeah, as you said, don't want to crow too loudly yet. It's some pretty strong winds out there, but
nice rainbow. Nice shot. Tower of the church and the rainbow. This was once a cottage. This is the foundation of a building, now moved to the opposite side of the street. Swing around here to the right. And there she is right there. Here's a graveyard of boats. Feet should have run into the house. There's one sitting on top of the dock.
wow, look at all that.
Look at this. Look at Bridge Street. So as the navigator, I'm just the operator here.
This is Brad's house in Fairhaven. Look at the mess. Brad's house. You would never believe this. What a mess. This car belongs to one of the nurses in St. Luke's Hospital, and it's parked right on the side.
Fairhaven Acushnet Cablevision took its own video of damages to the cable lines. Tens of thousands of feet of cable had to be repaired or replaced. Several hundred subscribers had their lines torn from their homes. According to General Manager Ed Lenahan, Acushnet was the hardest hit, and overall damages exceeded that of Gloria back in 1985. Although the causeway to West Island was battered by powerful waves, it sustained only minor damages. However, some telephone poles carrying valuable utilities to the island's 500 residents were toppled over, cutting off phone and power lines. To add to the inconvenience, a roadblock at the causeway entrance allowed only those who had property on the island to pass, on foot. It was an incredible sight to see long lines of tired residents trekking their way across, clutching to belongings and other necessities. Passers-by examined the causeway's newly constructed $35,000 wooden walkway, smashed and twisted. Hayden Aram, a favorite spot for luxury yachts of all shapes and sizes for the well-to-do. But it did not impress Bob. Over 135 vessels were carried away. Some were gently beached in the soft sand, while others were tossed about like toys on the bridge and wooden piers of the New Bedford Yacht Club. Damage estimates so far have reached over $2 million. The town of Mattapoisett was the hardest hit community. Nestled midway in the north side of the Buzzards Bay Channel, the full force of Hurricane Bob bulldozed most of the Crescent Beach area. Residents learned the hard way that the east side of a hurricane's eye is where the most damage can occur. Many don't argue when it is said that this small town was ground zero. The eerie sounds of crickets that mysteriously survived the salty tidal surge now replace the once familiar noises of children at play and families at the beach. Splinters of wood, broken furniture, and assorted household items scatter the area.
Unbelievable. It's going to miss our boat. Oh. It's dragging something,
That's
too.
the one that should be on the front of it.
Yeah.
That goes up there.
What you call it, Santa Lucia's ship there? Yeah.
Pull out.
Could hit DeWickies. His isn't about that close.
Hey, and you know high tide's not for 2 hours.
Yeah.
An awful lot of people today, so they're telling them to evacuate, didn't they, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to get a report to know if this is the peak or if it's going to get worse. I know the tide's still coming in. Well, I'll keep on my merry way. Good luck. I hope we get out of this no worse than this.
I hope so.
Look at the water coming in.
Bob left hundreds of downed and broken trees, dozens of smashed automobiles, and thousands of homes without electricity. Waterfront neighborhoods torn apart, and a sense of wonder if this was the worst storm to hit southeastern New England since Hurricane Carol. However, the list of infamous hurricanes should begin with the Great Hurricane of 1938. Survivors of that storm recount their ordeal with frightening respect for the day it struck without warning on Wednesday, September the 21st. In all, 680 were killed, with Rhode Island taking the heaviest toll, averaging 5 killed for every square mile of the state. It has been suggested that in terms of overall death and destruction, the 1938 hurricane surpassed the Great San Francisco earthquake and Chicago fire. A few years later, the world was at war, and the shipping lanes were congested with wartime traffic, bringing vital supplies to England and Europe. In 1944, on September 14th, a hurricane would strike New England at a most vulnerable hour, 11:30 p.m. at night. However, coastal inhabitants received adequate warnings all day. This compact but deadly storm ravaged most of Cape Cod and the islands, killing 31. Because of wartime restrictions, news would later reveal of a great tragedy at sea. 6 ships went to the bottom, which included a destroyer, 2 Coast Guard cutters, a minesweeper, and the Vineyard Sound lightship off Cutty Hunk, drowning 344 crewmen. The year was 1954, and southeastern New England was devastated by its first-named hurricane, called Carol. She arrived on August 31st, bringing tidal surges averaging 10 feet or more. The streets of Providence were underwater, thousands of beachfront homes were destroyed, and the New Bedford's fishing fleet lay in serious ruin. 68 were killed. Damages exceeded $500 million, making Carol the most costly storm in U.S. history up to that date.
A hurricane warning is in effect all the way north.
Unlike the major hurricanes of the past, today's storms receive much media attention ahead of its arrival. Today's technology also allows scientists to track storms almost from the time they come into existence. Combined with television and 24-hour news coverage such as CNN, viewers in vulnerable areas have ample time to prepare and evacuate.
Closely, and as David said, highest winds, real high, Category 3 at 115. Let's look at another satellite, and I'll show you the other vantage point that we have here. There the eye is quickly defined, counterclockwise motion around those clouds, and certainly already affecting the shoreline. You've been seeing our live reports with Tom Interior at Kitty Hawk and with John Zarella down in Morehead City, but I want to show you a radar to show you really what's happening there. To get your bearings, there's Elizabeth City, there's New Bern, Pamlico Sound, and way out of Cape Hatteras, we've just had a report of a possible tornado to the south of that area near Buxton.
With a stalled front extending from Florida to New England, Bob would meet no challenges as he began his unobstructed trek up the East Coast. The Carolinas were spared, and the next target was inevitable. Southeastern New England's shores curved outward into the Atlantic, offering Bob a target that was hard to miss. Damages from Hurricane Bob were not confined to the immediate shore. Inland, places like the Mattapoisett River have been seriously affected. Fallen trees have blocked the natural flow of this freshwater stream. Environmentalist and Fairhaven BPW Commissioner David Saliga assesses the damage.
That are causing the problem in the river. This is not really a concern at this point. This size tree would be considered small, this size right here. But more importantly, where this is a trout river stocked by the state, and where it's a watershed area, and again with the lowland flooding, as you can see, a tree of this size is going to create major problems in several areas. But do note the damming effect taking place only 1 month after the storm. You know, talk about the river, actually, if you look at it, doesn't exist anymore.
This once pristine riverway, slowly being strangled by hundreds of broken trees, have other local officials concerned as well, for this river supplies fresh water to the towns of Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, and Marion. As southeastern New England begins to rebuild from Newport to Cape Cod, one should consider what future hurricane seasons may be like. Up to this taping, the 1991 hurricane season was below average, with only 2 named storms. The typical Atlantic hurricane season has 10 named storms, 6 of which become hurricanes. Dr. Bill Gray, professor of atmospheric sciences at Colorado State University and renowned hurricane expert, predicts more active hurricane seasons in the next decade. Cyclical trends coinciding with a potential end to the African drought, along with other atmospheric elements, could act as catalysts for intense tropical storm development. Interestingly enough, Hurricane Bob came into existence without any help from Dr. Gray's theories. Bob developed rapidly off the Bahamas and gained hurricane strength within a couple of days. It also became one of the earliest major hurricanes to strike southeastern New England this century. In any major storm, preparedness is the key. Ironically, just 3 weeks before Hurricane Bob, Fairhaven's community television channel aired a special hurricane preparedness program with various town officials. In this program, residents were shown vulnerable flood-prone areas. Now, how about Shaw's Cove and all that? That looks like an area that's always underwater in a big storm anyway, and with a hurricane, they'll even be in a worse situation.
Well, you've got the area of Shaw's Cove, which is this general area up in here. I know there's some summer cottages at the foot of Shaw Road. Again, the land comes up pretty quick in that area. The elevation changes rapidly. Nomia Beach area in particular is very susceptible to flooding, and a lot of those summer cottages are year-round homes.
Remarkably, this program proved to be very prophetic in a few short weeks. Bob had struck, causing close to $1 billion in property damage in Massachusetts alone, making it the second most costly hurricane in U.S. history, with Hugo being the first. Casualties were surprisingly low, with perhaps only 1 storm-related death. As the 1991 hurricane season comes to a close, we should be cognizant of the fact that the next cycle begins again in only 6 months.